Now, the land of hope and glory. Well, perhaps not, because according to the new GB News People's poll, it's found that only 17% of Brits would willingly fight for our country.
This comes as the government has warned of a more than 1 in 4 chance that Russia will attack another British ally within the next 2 years.
Well, are the results of our poll surprising? Are we really too woke to fight? Well, let's speak now to the defence editor of The Telegraph, Coughlin, who says that a war with Russia is coming and Britain is determined to lose. Very good morning to you, Con. And what do you mean by that? Do you not think we are very prepared for war?
Well, my criticism is more directed at the government, which has presided over 14 years of cuts to the strength of our military, which means that with Putin threatening Europe, he was up in the Baltics only yesterday. When we've got a very visible threat like Vladimir Putin, we need to have our defences properly resourced to defend our interests, and we're not there yet. And I'm very intrigued by your poll, actually, because one of the problems the military has is recruitment. And one of the reasons I contend they're having these problems with recruitment is that the wokery that has now taken root in all 3 services, positive discrimination, this kind of thing, and diversity targets, that is putting people off applying for the forces, and particularly if you're a white working class male or female, the message is that perhaps you should go somewhere else. So I'm not surprised at all at the results of your poll, because the military is not actively encouraging our young men and women to sign up.
Con, or is it what some would say is a huge decline in simple British patriotism?
Well, I don't really see that, and I think when you look at things like the coronation, you look at the Queen's funeral last year, or sorry, 2 years ago now, the public display of affection, not just the Crown, but to the states, the sense of pride in being British, is pretty universal. So, I don't really buy that, but I think there is discontent at the way we are being governed, at the way over many years now, politicians seem to have contempt for the needs of ordinary people as they pursue their own agendas. And so I can see that people feel alienated from some aspects of the system. But in terms of hardcore nationalism, I think the British people still love their country and will fight for it. And
just can you tell us how equipped Britain is compared to how Russia is in terms of soldiers? Britain has some 70-odd thousand soldiers. How does Russia compare?
Well, the Russian military is massive. And I think the last time I looked, the total number of fighting men and women they can call on is in the realms of about 1 million. But having said that, and we've seen this in Ukraine, the quality of the Russian military leaves much to be desired in terms of their fighter aircraft, their tanks, etc. A lot of it is second division, which is why a small country, relatively like Ukraine, has managed to keep the Russians at bay for coming on 2 years. And the kit that we have in the British military, the little we have of it, is very high end, whether it's the Type 45 destroyers in the Royal Navy, the Typhoon fighters in the RAF, and even our dear old tanks have been upgraded. And there are just 40 of them compared to the 2,000 the Russians have. But the 40 we have work very well.
Con, really interested to get your perspective on this. Of course, we are in an election year, and we talk a lot about immigration and the economy, and those being the big issues that people are going to vote on. But more and more, especially with the headlines that we've been seeing this week, defence is surely going to be top of the list of people's priority. With GDP spending currently at 2%, lots of people would like it to be seen more, because they want to see that we can actually defend ourselves. And you've been writing, haven't you, about not only a woeful lack of equipment at the moment, but also a lack of vital training when it comes to defending ourselves against threats from Iran, China and Russia.
Yes, no, we are in a fairly perilous position at the moment. And I think in terms of an election, let us not forget that every politician will tell you that the defence of the realm is the first priority of any government. They say that, but what do? They run down our defence. And I think since the Tories came to power in 2010, there has been a deliberate attempt to run down the armed forces because the current crop of Conservative politicians have concluded there are no votes in defence, particularly after the controversies around the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So if we don't have a big military, we can't do anything. But I mean, as I said, the threat environment in the last 2 or 3 years, and particularly since the invasion of Ukraine, has changed immeasurably. And even Whitehall now concedes that there's a 1 in 4 chance of us being engaged militarily, directly, with Russia within the next 2 or 3 years. So if that's not a wake-up call, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it is a frightening thought, if indeed that is true. Con Coughlin, thanks so much for talking to us this morning.